Hello, 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 shackle breakers. Welcome to another episode for an interview with an awesome entrepreneur. This person is from India and he has a really inspiring story to tell and also a bit of a background about IT industry. So today's topic is about turning adversity into an opportunity. One of the unknown essential elements in the traditional to digital transformation that could make or break your business. Okay, so how did an IT company in India that almost crashed during the pandemic during COVID due to clients not renewing their contracts lay the cornerstone to carry the torch to transform India's huge market of SME, uh, uh, transforming them from traditional to digital? And what does it take? And he does it with style, and he used this change to change it into a world where the current world is evolving into. So welcome Parvez Diwan. He's the MD of Matrix 3D, the company who is at the forefront of providing cybersecurity services to SMEs in India. The detail of the service is available in the link that I'll provide in the description. And as the domain expert in this field, he also speaks to various forums on the topics about cybersecurity. And you can find more about his free courses that he provides in the website in the link that I'll provide. And welcome, Perez. Tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get into IT?
Raja, thank you very much for having me on the show. And I think that's fantastic. I've been watching a few of your videos, and each story is pretty inspiring of how each businesses are doing things. And so that's the first thing I'd like to say. Thank you very much. Uh, IT, it's the buzzword right now, seen over the last 2 years. And how did I come? So I believe, there's an old idiom which says that in your life, uh, do what you enjoy most and get people to pay you for it.
That's the best gift you could ever have.
So I got fascinated by computers much before they became a big thing. You're talking about in the mid 1980s. I think that must be much before you were born too.
So you don't know my age, huh? Okay,
Yeah, I
that's good.
don't know. You look just out of 20.
That's a great compliment.
So the idea was that I was a voracious reader, and I would read everything and anything from school, and that's where I got started reading. And I kept on reading not just fiction, but a lot of magazines, and a lot of international magazines in 1980 would come. And I'm from a city called Mumbai, known as Bombay, and we have a very interesting. At that time, there used to be a very interesting area where you used to get old and secondhand books in an area called Churchgate, and you could
in the
just go
south, right?
browsing. Pardon?
It's in the south of Mumbai, right?
It's in the south of Mumbai,
Near the
and
Gateway of India or something like that.
yes, so it's just walking distance from Gateway of India. So I had to spend a lot of time out there, and that's where I started reading and started getting fascinated by stories of how computers had come and magazines, and that's where I got fascinated. And that bought I was lucky that I got my mother to buy me a home computer. That time there was an age of a different type of computers. Home computers were there. You may have heard of names like Atari, Commodore, Spectrum. I got a Spectrum, got fascinated, would play games 24 by 7. I suppose even people now also play games 24 by 7.
Yeah.
And then over a time evolved into saying, hey, I could open that computer. I could make it do things which other people I felt could not do. Joined a few clubs, started talking to people. And I knew that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I enjoy. So in 1991, along with a couple of friends, I said, hey, why don't I start a computer company? This is what we all love to do. And that's where it started. From 1991, we started basically at that moment of times, computers could be assembled together. I'm sure in Thailand also, as you grew up, you would know that people would assemble computers. You could buy the parts and put them together. But in 1990s, it was a absolutely, unknown field. And
So you are the Dell version of the Asian version of Dell in Asia, in India.
thank you very much. That's really good praise.
So you're like assembling in college and all that?
Yes, absolutely. So from college, assembling, putting it together, doing training. And in 1991, also, a lot of things started changing in India because of the economy. And that's where we got the push. We started doing that. And then Matrix evolved. As a company, we started evolving. And that's how I got into IT. And as in IT, you know that things have to evolve very quickly. You don't use a mobile phone, which is 2 years back.
Mm-hmm.
So every few years, let's say maybe 5 or 6 years, Matrix being a small business, and here I'm focusing on a small business because we're not talking about enterprise and large companies. Small businesses have to think over their feet. They have to keep on evolving, and we evolved. Started with a company which would assemble computers to getting into cutting edge technologies in graphics and animation. And then from 2000, understanding that advisory and consulting is very important because equipment was now available. You can buy the best of computers. And then moving into one of the most hottest topic after 2010, which is into cyber security, because the internet was now there. So as you see, over the last 30 years, every decade has been a different fine-tuning of the business. It's not a different business. Technology remains at its core, and that's how I got into IT. And that's how currently I am focusing on cloud and IT security.
All right. Do you want to give a bit of background about like how IT evolved in India? And during the times of like the opening up of India and how it correlates to each other?
Sure. In fact, I would have to thank that I was born. I was there. We all were there at the right time, at the right place. In 1991 is when there was a government, I think led by Sri Narasimha Rao, which brought in a certain opening up of the markets of a financial change. The finance minister was a visionary, Mr. Manmohan Singh. He brought in laws and he brought in rules which allowed us to do business. And that meant a lot of international companies would now have started looking into India now. From 1991 to 2000, every company in the world wanted to come into India, establish the business. The country just went into a boom. And technology was the core. People wanted to use computers. And I was there at that time. And that's where I got into. And it was thankfully that my coincidence was that my passion and what was the opportunity were aligned. I did not let that opportunity pass. So I think that IT and technology in India, so initially, as it said, the first part was when data processing, where you used to make forms and insurance forms and letters, and then that evolved into an Infosys and a TCS getting into software development.
Call centers.
One of the biggest thing which changed the Indian industry was the Y2K.
Mm-hmm.
You remember in 2000, a lot of software companies were, and that's where we were there. We used to supply the hardware. We used to make the infrastructure for these companies, and we really did well. But then we knew that business would only be till Y2K, which is year 2000.
Yeah.
And then companies took on. And that's where, and from 2000 onwards, I think the age came of the internet. The internet had come into India in 1995. And it was just, the first few years was just, right now you look at the browser and all, that was just a prompt, like one of those old computers where you type in stuff. There was no mouse, there was nothing, you just had to type in.
DOS,
but by 2000, then there was the most well-known .com boom. Everybody was starting a website and .com. And so that's how it's evolved. So where it started from data processing with international companies coming in, people started looking at the internet and started creating business models. Then call centers started because you could do business internationally sitting here in India.
Yeah.
And that was because of the internet. You suddenly had the global world. And then finally, this decade has started with the decade of data. And that's how we are going to become a very big power in that.
Yeah. To step back a bit and to give a bit of context to people who's listening outside of India. So during the mid 90s to the mid 2000, like 2005, 2006, why the Western countries were looking into India is because the human resources there were at a much higher caliber and at a 1/10 the price. So you can get a software developer or you can get website developer for like pennies to the dollar in what's in the West and a good and a better quality of finished. So that's why and also when they shifted the data center like the call center and all to India, so most of the multinational companies were able to have 24 hours customer service because of what India was providing then. And then the trend shifted to now to a more vibrant and versatile, not just vendors, but a more vibrant and versatile and more knowledgeable companies that have come out of that threshold. So Parvez is going to share about that in as this interview evolved. Yeah. So, but let's hear about like, so he's entering into this era and then COVID hit, right? So what happened?
Okay, so as I was saying, we also evolved over the last decade. We got into the areas of IT, which was primarily consulting, advisory, data, and
Perhaps you can give a picture, paint a picture with the story you shared with me about the Singaporean company, how they were setting it up.
Oh yes, 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 yes. So in 2000s, what happened was as already the larger companies had come in, and till that time we were primarily putting up hardware. We realized that there was a great value uh, by consulting and advice, because a lot of companies that are coming into India wanted somebody to localize their business to India. A Singaporean company came into India. It was trying to set up offices in India, and they were facing challenges because there is a way, a culture where a Singaporean company works, and that culture is not there in Delhi or in Mumbai or in Calcutta or in Chennai. And even across India, India being so large, the culture changes from region to region. So localizing your business, and that's where we started saying, hey, look, we can help you set up the whole thing here, because you need somebody in India who understands, but also understands your technology, understands what kind of values you're getting in. So when companies were trying to establish, we partnered with them. They would come to us looking for us. They say, hey, we know a company called Matrix 3D. Do they do this? And would they help us set up offices? And that's what we started doing, turnkey things. We started helping them set up their offices. We said, okay, we will handhold you. We will see that your teams are there. We will help you with hiring. You set up your IT infrastructure. We will look at how your IT works. We will localize it. We will find you the local partners. We will help you save taxes, because you got to bring a business angle also when you are helping businesses, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the technology angle. It's not just the product. It's the value creation of that product.
Just to give a bit of context, okay, so when you do business in India, like recently India has opened up a lot, but say just 10 years ago, it's not easy to do business in India. And yes, each state, the laws are different, and each state is vying for taxing you. And each state has ways to find ways to tax you, even sometimes to the verge of stupidity. So like if you're like operating in India and you're moving logistics from one state to the other, you're already paying tax for nothing. It's like out of the blue tax like that. So, and this is just a tip of the iceberg obstacles that multinational companies that they're so green-eyed, that they are so innocent that they don't know what they're dealing with. So when they go into India with this environment and they have to face all this, then they need somebody who could hand hold them and say, okay, walk this way, walk that way, and they can also have a way to trust that company. So without that, they are nearly blind of what's going on in India. Like everything is flying right and left at them. All right. So Parvez.
Very, very well said. Very well said. That's exactly what happened. And we could save them a load of money on taxation, on logistics, on setting up things, and also very important, getting the expectations right of when the projects would get over, when would their office be operational, what is the kind of values which are, when you're hiring in India, you should look for, and what is it that what will incentivize so that you have a very stable operations, and then use technology and customize technology to do so for, you just cannot pick up something. Uh, I know we believe that India is a lot of English speaking, but yes, there are challenges in speaking. English is not as prevalent as you thought, except for the larger cities in the urban population. But you could really get really intelligent and really smart people who had challenges for English. And I think English should be the least of the barrier for hiring a person, because the values and the skills are far more important than the language, which can be easily learned. So we did help a lot of companies. But as we grew, Raja, moving on, we realized that, other than internet, one of the most valuable assets which was happening and which was growing, which was the biggest thing which was happening is, social media is coming on, internet is coming on. And what was growing at an astronomical state was data. Today, you are on social media. You're not paying a single rupee or a pound or a dollar for being on the social media. But well, there is a reason, there is a commercial model to that. And the value which is created out of your own personal information is far more than any other value which you can get on a product or a subscription. If I know a lot of things about you, I can sell it to 15 people. But if I just charge you for one thing, I will only get one income. But I can take information about you and sell it to 15 different people, and I will get 15 different ways of creating income.
I've never thought of it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. So one person can be multi-products to one company.
Absolutely.
And that multi-products then, so I exist as a product to Facebook to be sold to 10, 15 other companies. Wow. I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
And when I see you, I'm sorry, it might sound a little creepy, but when I see you, I say, hey, what's the t-shirt are you wearing? What are the headphones you're wearing? Can I sell you a different type of headphone? Can I sell you a different type of t-shirt? And to a t-shirt manufacturer, that might be more interesting. And for a person who's selling electronics, that might be more interesting. And all that information is there. So data was coming in and data was being used. And now it gets into the more interesting part that happened from 2005 to 2015. And two things you need to know. You need to know how to use data. And because one is that a lot of companies got into the concept of what is called data science. Software development companies, the larger ones, like let's say TCS, Infosys, these are large giants in India, which got, and Wipro, they got into data science. I, being a small and medium-sized business, thought, hey, look, instead of trying to do that, what is the other thing of data? Because it's such a valuable asset, everybody will need to protect that asset. You're creating so much. And that's where the idea struck me, that our expertise was infrastructure. Our expertise was to set up companies. Why not we show them how to protect the data, how to get, and that's where the idea of cybersecurity, and we evolved over the last 10 years to bring in cybersecurity. We also understood the challenge of a country as large as India. India is seriously large. And traveling to and fro is not very cheap. Airline costs are not as cheap as they are in some other countries. And that's where we again saw cloud making such a big difference. With cloud computing, you suddenly could basically have data. And that's what we focused on. So we got into cybersecurity and we got into cloud computing using that. And that has basically been
to give a context to other countries' listeners. So when you say large, not just as the expanse of geography, but large as in demographically, people are very different also. Traditionally, they are different also. Yeah, so a person living near Nepal would have more of a Chinese heritage. than a person living in the south of India. They would have a more of a local tribal relativity. Yeah, so that's how the expanse of the country is. And so to cater to all these demographics is not is like you're hitting a needle in a haystack like that. You don't know how how to cater like that. And also, was there any catalyst that fuel up the way into cybersecurity?
As I said, the catalyst to that was the objective of evolving and saying that, hey, we believe, see, you have to be
Wait,
forward looking. In technology, you have,
let me rephrase that. So like we are at the moment in the catalyst of the pandemic COVID, right? So the catalyst is it's speeding up people being efficient and working from home, and staff, instead of being full-time, became freelancers. The catalyst is like that, right? So now the catalyst for cybersecurity, maybe like, was there a big scare about why virus hostage or something like that?
absolutely, absolutely. So as data started increasing, we got a lot of people coming to us because they were losing data. There's something very prevalent right now going on called ransomware, where you
Mm-hmm.
suddenly start losing all your data. People get hacked. There are financial frauds. People started coming into us even 10 years back saying, hey, there were a lot of financial frauds where things used to happen through email. You know, you heard of the classic Nigerian prince where somebody sends you a mail saying, I have $50 million, and I think your mailbox will be flooded with that.
Yeah.
So we understand that it's not everybody is tech savvy, and not all companies are into technology. I want to bring in one point, if you allow me, Raja, which is very interesting to understand. And for small businesses, I think that's a great value. People talk about digitization. Okay. Everybody talks about digitization. I want to get technology. I want to digitization. There is a word which is different, which is called digitalization. And they are not synonymous. They are not the same thing. Digitization is converting what you have in paper or in records into something which a computer can read. Like, right? You have a letter which is there, and then you put it on the computer, and that becomes a digital, going digital. But digitalization is basically using technology to improve your business, to improve efficiency, to improve something, to bring in a change. And people who use computers, I'm sorry to say, I'm a little harsh on this, but people use computers as glorified typewriters or calculators. They've been given a software, they use, I think computers can do much more, as the mobiles have shown you, because the mobiles itself are computers, right? They're just mini computers in your, and the amount of things which people can do with mobiles today, from e-shopping to mobile apps which allow you to, pick up whatever you want, to your Instagram. So you, in businesses, if they can start using the computers and say, hey, this is a process I have, and can I use computers, can I use my computer to make it more efficient? That's where you get into digitalization, something with small businesses are learning here and quickly picking up here. And that's where you see a boom in our businesses, where we believe in India over the last 5 years, because of the mobile and 4G connectivity, what has happened is small businesses are now using technology to actually, change the way they work. They're going online.
Yeah.
They're going on shopping carts. So that's where it's.
Yeah, so to add on to what Pravesh just said, right? So digitization is about like making things that were physical and changing them into something that is documentable online. Yeah, but digitalization is shifting your whole process of your business systems, like your marketing, your sales, your accounting, how you approach customer, your customer service, your relationship with your customers are done via technology. Yeah. So, for example, before you may be advertising on a billboard, but now your advertising is like you, the owner, is coming out live on your Facebook, and your accounting is now booked on by an invoice that is automated and then transferred accordingly when sales happen. And the efficiency of that is that the bookkeeping gets all automated, something like that. So, and uh, and the lifestyle of a person who is in digitalization is totally different. What Parvez was trying to point to is the lifestyle, the how we act, how we interact with technology is totally different from a person who's digitalization to a person who's digitization.
Absolutely.
And so now when people talk about transforming from a traditional to a digital type of business or company, they usually collapse to that it's digitization. So that's where the Achilles heel is. It's not actually digitization, it's digitalization. All right.
And that's where the key word comes in, which Matrix 3D went into, which is called digital transformation. That means helping small businesses use technology in the right manner. So they were using computers, but they were not using technology. There's a big difference between them. So we are helping, over the last 15 years, we have evolved to help run digital transformation for small businesses who are basically, or mid-sized businesses who basically come from conventional, from family-owned businesses. Family-owned businesses do not evolve that fast as new entrepreneurs do, because there is a lot of legacy which they have to carry forward. So digital transformation became the key, and digital transformation is where it is helping businesses change, adopt technology, and come and start competing with the new age businesses which are coming. This conventional small and medium-sized businesses now can compete with the new real startups, hotshot guys who are coming with a lot of money, but now they know how to fight that business in the right manner.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened? And then COVID hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So one interesting information about India I'd like to share is we have a financial year, right? A financial year where we put in our taxation and close the year. The financial year for India is April to March. Okay. So in February of 2020, we were doing okay. We were decent and we had a lot of plans what to do in the next financial year. Our contracts were for renewals. We were due. And mid-March, suddenly out of the blue, lockdown, shut down. All businesses, not just us, our clients, everyone around us had to overnight shut down our businesses. All our contracts were to be signed anytime. And we said, oh, okay. And we understand that even our clients were a little bit confused about what is to be done. They were busy managing, whether they were construction companies because they had to let go of their staff, or they were architecture firms or manufacturing firms. They had to complete their orders, ship it out and close. And they said, yeah, sure, give us some time. We are busy with our stuff. And then came April, and end of April, and we continued our service. We said, okay, we have such a great relationship. We create value. When the client is in trouble, you do not trouble the client. You try to help the client do more. But by the end of April, we knew that those contracts would not get renewed. And we lost a very substantial part of our business because of the pandemic. And we understand that it was because even our clients were a little unprepared. They also had to save costs. They also had to understand. Everybody went to only something which is called as essential, where they could have had a certain amount of contract. Maybe they went to a skeleton staff of one person. People were not coming to offices. People were working from home. So they needed the basic amount of technology services. And since they were not processing a large amount of orders, then too, they had to basically slow down the amount of projects they had. So yes, it was by April end, we knew that this is going to be really difficult. And that's what happened in the pandemic.
What made you see that if you follow the direction you were going, it's gonna be a tragedy, and what made you shift trajectory?
Okay, so well, there are some advantages we had. We were a technology company, and we had invested, and we were one of the earlier adopters of something called as cloud computing. In cloud, what happens is all your data remains on the cloud, and you can connect and access that data. It took us about 10-15 days to understand that our offices are not going to open. We are not going to do that. But what we did was, we started, just like you have Zoom, on which we are talking right now. We have other programs like Microsoft Teams, and our team, we figured out a way where people could come online in the morning to work through the day. And we started having discussions, workshops, everybody bringing their own concepts. We would discuss ideas by individuals, by even from the junior most staff to the core team. We would discuss ideas. And that's what made all the difference, because on no working day, did we shut down everything and say, oh, we don't know what's going to happen, let's wait. No, we said business works as usual. You get to work, you start discussion. Maybe there are no clients, maybe there are no calls, but at least we can ideate. And that is what was the most, I think, my team, it's the people. Remember, business comes from the people you have on your team. And once you start discussing and you become open, and that's where ideas team started coming out, that, hey, look, we are doing this. And across it, we just realized that, hey, look, we need technology so much to connect from home. I think all of our clients are going to need that. And maybe more people who are looking for solutions to work from home, banks, non-banking companies, people are into financial, the stock market was on. Obviously, they needed somebody to help them with technology. And these ideas came over the month of April, May, where we continued working from home. We started having discussions. We used to have video conferences all the time. And all the time we were trying to make it fun. We were trying to say, hey, let's come up with a new idea. Come on. Who comes up with a brand new idea? Let's make a presentation on this. It was nothing for client deliverable. There were no kind of timelines to it that, hey, we need to deliver this to a client. It was for us. That's where the change started coming in. And we said, what is it that we can get what somebody needs now versus what is it that we have been selling?
Yeah. So
you got to think that way.
Yeah.
So the environment has changed. You got to adapt.
Now you got that. This is what's required. Maybe the customers, the clients don't know it yet, but it's what's required, and you're very clear with that. So now I think one of the obstacle for you is to educate and influence them, right, and persuade them. How did that happen? I think that would be a big obstacle.
Well, actually, honestly, we realized, being a technology company, we weren't using technology that much. That's we realized the concept of digital marketing. We understood that people were always now on their phones or on their computers, and they had all the free time in the world. Anybody who was our client had invested into technology, because we were looking for companies who had already invested into technology. They would at least have laptops, mobile phones, everything. And that's where we started saying, hey, the only way is, we can't go in for meetings, we can't go in for conferences, we can't go in, but let's start with this. Let's start first connecting it to everybody. We use tools which are already available, just not social media. We use AdWords, we use advertisements on the net. We started telling people, hey, can we give you free training for your staff? The word free is always attractive, but we really created value. I think it was not just a gimmick. I think we created a value. Not necessarily the people who we interacted with gave us any business, but at least it created value in their business, where they understood that, hey, I can use technology, I can use online media, so that's digital marketing was the key. And we helped so many companies understand that they were basically shops. And these shops had till now resisted going online, or they had their own website. We started consulting them, advising them to go to marketplaces.
Mhm.
Marketplaces, though initially any small business will find the resistance to go to a marketplace. Just to clarify what's a marketplace, Amazon is a marketplace.
Why so?
Because of the commission and because of the return policy.
Mhm.
First of all, the profitability of the logistics and the kind, see, small businesses do not have the systems in place to basically have those kind of logistics, to have that kind of stock, to have that kind of inventory, and also to have that kind of processes. You need to tag everything. You need to ensure what is the availability. You got to do that. And also, Amazon, as usual, has a return policy. In a shop, you can say, hey, look, it's okay. So small businesses have a lot of resistance to that.
Mm.
And we had to convince them that, look, you got to begin somewhere.
Mm.
And I think I am very happy to say that I have a lot of people, from friends and from clients, who have called me up later on after 6 months saying, hey, we began. It took us 3 months of grief to go onto various marketplaces, to get ourselves registered, to give the documentation, to get our own house into order.
Mm.
But today they are doing business and their business is growing.
Mm.
And that, I think, was great value creation. So our consulting and advisory training, and also telling people to get their data proper, helped.
Yeah. So now people before think about, I'm gonna approach about cybersecurity. Yeah? So people before think about cybersecurity is there's a hacker sitting somewhere in Russia with a hood on, and they are like hacking into a bank or something. But cybersecurity, but data risk is much closer to home than many people think.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and to give an idea is like, and at the moment with the volatility of people having to work at home, so the data leakages and people in being incented to give because now they are the product of the companies they're working for, being incented to give what they know and the information they know to competitors. You want to talk about that a bit, and how you came up with cybersecurity is the direction to go?
Sure. So I know what you said is correct. The people's perception of getting hacked is a guy sitting somewhere with a hood in a dark room trying to get into your computer. But you will be very surprised to know that most of the hacking or leakage of information does not happen because of somebody using technology to get into the computer, but by a term called social engineering. The word social engineering is just like social media, right? In social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, there is information available about you. I can find out, given some time, I can find out anything and everything about you and your company. And people do that. People find out not just online, they also come and find out what packages are being delivered to you. Who is the CEO of your company? Who is the person in your company who signs checks? And I would target very specifically those people and try to get into those aspects. So the concept of saying that, and people right now are not do not understand that there is a difference between security and privacy. Security, I would want to protect. Privacy is, I don't want anybody to know who is there in my company. But right now, because of social media, or what did I do, or who is my best friend, or who is my CFO, or who is the person who handles marketing in my company, or who is the person who's responsible. But today, if you go and look at a profile of somebody in your company, you will find a lot of details about him on what he does in my company. And that's how social engineering led to a lot of data leakage, led to a lot of financial fraud, that led to where people could not understand how. And now, till now, companies thought that if the person is working inside the office, he's protected. The first barrier which broke is that now people were working from home. They were using their mobile and laptops from home. That fell. So people wanted to monitor that. And we had to educate them that, yes, there are concepts which are called MDM, mobile device management, where you basically you could protect them. You could protect those devices even if those people were not. We could put their data on cloud and we could give rights based on, it's like having a locker in a train station or at an airport. It is in a public area, but everybody has their own keys, right? You could rent a locker. So similarly, we started saying, hey, I know leaving your valuables on an airport is not very secure. You always would want to leave. But today, if you had something secure, and if you left it under a key, a lock and key, and you left it under some protection, and there was a security guard outside that lockers, it would be far more safer than you carrying it around. And that's where we understood that we had to explain, and cybersecurity is not trying to stop the person from doing business, nor is it trying to basically eliminate hackers. Hackers will continue to be. Your business will continue to be. We want to ensure that you are well protected. You understand the risk every time, and you take care that these risks do not in any way affect your business. That, I think, is what our cybersecurity mentality is. We want to make everybody safer in the digital space. And I think that works for us. That's what my last 1 year journey has been, and it has been fantastic and fruitful of getting that done.
So once you nail down that cybersecurity is the way to go, how did you paint a picture for the small and medium-sized companies that this is essential for their business?
So a couple of other things which are, you should look for an opportunity in this pandemic. The one opportunity is that because of the internet and people at home, and I have your undivided attention, okay, I suddenly have the whole globe to cater to. Why should I only cater to my area or my city? I can have a conversation. You are in Thailand, I am in India. We are having a conversation as if we were across the table. Therefore, I think that's where we started saying that you need to go out of your comfort zone, go to new clients, share information. And that's where they started coming, that the clients were asking for non-disclosure agreements. They were asking for us that how data protection, are you protecting? If I'm going to share my data with you, will you protect it? How will you protect it? And we started sensitizing people that, look, you need to not only ensure that the client's data which you have to protect, because that's violation of privacy. Remember I mentioned privacy? I have some client's data. The client has trusted me and shared their data with me. I need to protect it. And there are standards which are created worldwide, which companies can adopt and go in for a certification. And we started offering those services. We said, hey, we'll help you get those certificates. Once you get those certificates, the world will start looking at you differently. Small businesses will suddenly be competing. Our objective is to make small and medium-sized businesses on the global area compete with the large enterprises, because I think they can create great value through personalization. So that's exactly where we started working with small and medium-sized businesses, getting them certification, making their data, showing them how to share their data in a confidential manner, only through access rights, using cloud computing as a technology and cybersecurity principles to basically say, hey, a simple thing, MFA, that's a very techie term, multi-factor authentication, but I'm sure the world is aware that today when I log into anything, you might get an OTP, one-time password on your mobile. There are two-factor authentication. Do we have that for our mobile phones, for our email? So we started introducing these concepts and people started taking that on, understanding how important it was. If they could do it for a bank, your own personal banking account, they should do it for your business email also, because that also carries really very important secrets and confidential data. So cybersecurity boomed.
And once you got on the back of the horse, like now, how do you expand, or how, like what's your growth strategy?
So we understand now that cybersecurity and cloud computing here right now is there to stay. we are empowering smaller companies as small as five people, 6 people, to up to uh, 50 people to 500 people, to say, hey, look, the way you did business, the way you did your information. So we are looking at horizontal growth. A business can either look at horizontal growth or vertical growth. Vertical growth may be creating additional revenue, like your turnover. You have the same sets of clients, or maybe you're adding a few more clients, but you are basically increasing your revenue. So you're growing. Right now, that's not going to happen because people are not going to spend too much money.
So
your same client will actually going to reduce what he's spending with you.
So
then we decided my strategy is for horizontal growth. Horizontal means get more clients, which may not actually have a large generation, but just keep on increasing the number of clients. So we are spreading across the country. We have got orders from all across India. Previously, I think 70% of our business came from Mumbai and around Mumbai. Maybe 20% came from international business and 10% came from the rest of India. At the moment, after a year, I say Mumbai is only 30% of my business. The rest comes from almost out of India or across India, from Delhi, from Indore, from Calcutta, from Bangalore, from Chennai, from the cities which are very, very far away. The digital marketing with the concept of saying horizontal growth and not saying no to even a small customer has helped us grow.
Great. Yeah, that I think that the strategy is it's working. I can see it works. It's and I think for me personally, like I saw that this time is the time for laying down the foundation, the bricks. Yeah. So within 3 months, when your foundation, your bricks is all laid down, then's where you're going to flourish a lot. Yeah. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So looking back at how far you have come and the trajectory you have taken, do you see you could have done something differently within the last year that would have accelerated the growth?
I think a few months we lost because we were confused. I think that is human error. And I do not regret that, because I think a lot of people required emotional support also. Mental health is an important thing during the pandemic, because irrespective of how much your business is doing or not doing, you are mentally affected by the fear that what's going to happen in the future. So we did have a little bit of go slow where we should have, but I think there was a balance on that.
I
The
don't
second
think
area,
I don't think I don't think it's something wrong with that. I think you were just like, okay, we are with this and we are at the moment figuring things out and something will show up in a bit like that. I think you're inquiring into that unknown premise at that moment. And that has
the
led you
second
to...
area, the second area is we should have paid, I think, which we are doing this year now, is we are looking at ancillary services and looking at if we have provided to a client a single service, we are also exploring with the client what additional service related to that we could offer, where the client may be stuck. It took us a long time and we should have initially also started with that, but the client may have had other needs. So we need to talk to the client and have a conversation and find out, hey, is there something else you want? And maybe I could arrange that. So I think if you ask me what I would have done and okay, that's what I'm doing now. I'm going back to all the clients we've got over the last 1 year and saying, hey, look, great. Do you know we also do this? Do you know I can help you? Or is there something else I could do for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's going to make a lot of difference.
Yeah, I think this is beautiful. I think the pandemic has shifted the conversation about, it has been going on for a while, but I think it's a catalyst for relationship marketing. Yeah. Yes. And it's beautiful, it's a beautiful domain to be in about relationship marketing. Yeah. And and I think as an Indian, we are usually in that nature already, not without knowing the term before. But at the moment, I think it's come out in front, and relationship marketing would go a long way for anybody who's looking
Absolutely.
to, yeah, create value for customers. Yeah. Yeah, on a side note, I'm going to have an ad scoop. So my family business is about tailor-made clothes, and tailor-made clothes are catered to tourists who comes to Thailand. And during the pandemic, so 90% of that custom audience vanished. So say if there were 3,000 tailor shops in Bangkok, I think only 500 survived, and out of the 500, I think only 10 or 20 is still running, not on old money, but on sales generated every day. So I'm one of that tailor shop, and how I was able to just not survive and stay afloat, but thriving at that moment, in this moment. And one of the factors is relationship marketing and foundational building and all that. And those marketing resources are available in the link I'll put in the description, and you can have a look if you can see that that would be something that will support you in your uh, how to help you grow your businesses or sales as well in these trying times. All right. So coming back to our conversation, anything you would like to share to business owners who are dealing with the COVID or pandemic, and to give them power or to inspire them to be with this seemingly challenging time?
One thing which every business owner now needs to think is, because the person is a business owner, the person is an entrepreneur. The person should go back to their journey when they started
Wow.
and look at why did they start, who they were catering to. They asked the right questions when they started that journey. Assume that this is beginning your journey again. So ask whether the value, see, till now you have been in the flow of things. You had a settled business was coming in, there
You're
was nothing,
established.
but
You're
you are
established.
established.
Yeah.
But now just assume you start from zero. And what would you sell now if you were there? And the most important thing is, what would create value to the people around you, the clients? Do not say, I sell this because this is what I've been selling for the last 10 years.
Hmm.
Understand what the client wants today. Hear, listen. And I would tell all business owners that they should start their entrepreneurship journey again
Hmm.
with saying that now we are in 2021.
With
We
fresh
are not
eyes.
in 2011. Look with fresh eyes. Look at everything. Look at who your client is, because your client also has changed over the last 10 years.
Hmm.
Their needs have changed. Pandemic has changed so many things.
Hmm.
People now make more masks than they make clothes, maybe.
Yeah, and I like the way you went about the strategy you went about it. Okay, so each client's money is limited, but that doesn't mean that I have to slow my sales. Like, look horizontally. How can I provide the same thing to more people? Yeah,
Yes.
it's beautiful. I've never thought of it that way. That people, when they're stuck with an obstacle, then they're emotionally charged with it, and then they forget to look. But if you can look, if you can like come back, step back a bit and look, and then there's you can bring mindfulness and then start playing. Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. So that's what I have to share.
Beautiful. So how's this interview for you?
It's a surprise, Raja, you connecting with me, and actually you made me think about my journey over the last 30 years. So that's been beautiful, and I just realized that it's been quite a nice journey, and we've evolved, and I've done different businesses and yet kept my passion. And I think this interview was great. And uh, I think I was motivated when you connected to me and I saw your channel that you were doing something for the small and medium sized businesses, which somewhere at our end also we try to create that same value. And I say, hey, everybody is trying to. There are a lot of people in this world who is looking at the small and medium sized businesses, and businesses will change and evolve. And if I have an opportunity to talk to somebody to bring even one bit of change, why not? So I'm very happy to have done this interview.
Yeah, and some like I would like to open up the conversation you just created. I read a few years back in a Reader's Digest, right? So there was a person walking on. He was a teenager walking on the beach, and that day the tide was down, and there were starfish hung up on the beach, and a huge number of them, like three, 400,000 of them. And then there was a guy, an adult, walking past by, and he saw this kid who was throwing starfish back at the into the sea, and then throwing starfish back into the sea again and again. And he was looking at the mass of starfishes all around there, and he approached the kid and he said, "Hey, like, why would you do that? It's there's so much of them, it doesn't matter." And then the kid picked up the starfish. He thought for a bit. He picked up that starfish, and then he threw it back into the beach, into the sea. And he turned to the person and said, "Well, it made a difference to that one." so, so,
Right,
say,
absolutely.
so same thing. Like when we see the humongousness of all the problems around us, we forgot to think that we can start with creating a small difference for someone, and just doing that, we already created value and made a difference to that person already. It doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be like a world-changing order or something like that. Yeah, so keep on going out every day, face your fears, confront your
Absolutely.
circumstance, and give time to make a difference. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So anybody you would like to see interviewed here?
No, I know a lot of people around me. I get inspired by everybody around me, and I have too big a list. But a couple of people come to my mind. Uh, I have a good friend in IT. His name is Gulbir Singh Bhatia.
Seems like a
And
Punjabi.
yeah, he's a Sardar. uh, very innovative, and he's a powerhouse of ideas. That's one gentleman. Uh, there's a couple I know, Parvez and Fatima. They basically cater to luxury jewelry.
That would be an interesting topic. B2C for
Yes.
people
So the luxury market, obviously, in the last
or hit
2 years would have been would be a so me, they would have had a very interesting journey.
Yeah.
So I think these are the people I would come to the top of my mind.
Yeah, that'd be great. So send me the contacts, and then we connect with them and see where
Sure,
it goes from there.
sure,
All right,
absolutely.
we are coming towards
Okay,
the end. Thank you for providing value, for being open, giving the conversation wherever it leads, and people got new distinctions today. They got the distinction of digitalization and digitization. They got a distinction about social engineering. They got a distinction about data leakages in a whole new way. So those are distinctions that if we didn't have words for it, we wouldn't understand the world of that, right? So thank you for that, Faiz.
thank you. Most welcome. I'm more than happy to share.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.